Welcome to Color Country Politics, where we discuss all the important political issues facing Iron County, Utah. Our guests include elected officials and community leaders in or representing Iron County. This is episode 70, Candidate Forum 2021. Derek Morton, Cedar City Council.
Good? All right. Hey, everybody. Oh, I gotta look at the camera here. You can cut that out. And hey, everybody. Welcome back to Color Country Politics. We are so excited to bring you our next series because it is election season, which I think we can all agree is everybody's favorite season, right? So I am Jenny Hendricks here live again with my co-host,
Jesse Harris,
Yay.
Actually in front of the camera for once.
Live and in person, that's right. So we're doing our City Council series right now, and we are really tickled to have Derek Morton with us today. Welcome, Derek.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. So, for those of you who haven't tuned in to our last series, we are going to invite all of the candidates to come on Color Country Politics. And we really ask all the candidates the same questions to be fair. And we just want to get the information to you as to sort of what the thought process is behind the candidates.
Why we're as crazy
Why
as we
are you
are
doing this? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Derek, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Let's just jump right in. So, Derek Morton is running for Cedar City Council.
Hooray.
It was really enthusiastic.
Hooray! Is that better? That was a little too much into the mic.
Okay.
Sorry for your ears.
Jesse can maybe edit that out a little bit later. Okay, that's fine.
Hey,
Okay.
you challenged me. I accepted it.
Okay. All right. So, tell us about yourself, Derek.
So I'm Derek Morton. I moved into Cedar City in 2007 on a whim. Like it really was. And brought my wife and kids down here and had opportunities to leave and just refused. We just loved it here. From the moment I moved down, I've had plenty of opportunities to serve and get involved. I've served in the chamber, the home builders, the Karen chair. I'm on a new board, state board organization, Youth Futures, that we'll talk about a little bit. They run youth homeless shelters around the state. And so being involved has given me just some cool opportunities to try to help the community in different ways.
That's great. Why are you running for office?
So with that involvement, that's opened my eyes to a lot of things. And the other thing that has helped me is, so I own Net Gain Property Management. And working with my tenants has opened my eyes to the impacts of decisions that people make, or the lack of decision making on all levels that can have. And so I felt the need to bring some of those issues to the forefront and discuss them, because there's issues that usually aren't talked about a whole lot, and a lot that people don't see. But now we're starting to see a lot of these symptoms and things that have been ignored come to the forefront. People are like, wait, what happened? Like, what's happened to Cedar City? And so a lot of it's based on the way we develop. And that's led to three crises, is what I tell everyone. I said, you've got no water, we've got lack of affordable housing for people of all sorts, as well as increased poverty. You talk to the Karen Share, you talk to Canyon Creek, all their needs are going up immensely. Yeah. And then we throw in the lack of housing now for SUU, and then the impacts that is having, which are massive on our community right now. And we've just got this perfect storm of how did this happen? And now we're trying to catch up because we're in a desperate situation.
Yeah, not making a decision is just the same as making a decision.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So pivoting from there,
That's an excellent pivot.
Yeah, it is an excellent pivot. What do you think the city needs to improve?
So one of the things that I've been focusing on is understanding the way development impacts poverty and water. And so adding increased flexibility to the way we develop, and then learning to actually understand what the market is telling people. So one of our most requested things for rentals, and even on the purchase side, we've gotten a few of these lately, is smaller units. the 1 bedroom in the studios. On the purchase side, they're like, I just want to buy, like, they think it's New York. I laugh. It's like, I just want a 1 bedroom condo. And I'm like, well, those don't exist here.
Yeah.
But you get some of that. And so because of that lack of doing it, it's caused a lot of impacts everywhere else in our market. So I tell everyone, so outside of my transitional housing that I run for those coming out of homelessness and domestic violence, and then out of my student housing, which are just room rentals. Mm-hmm. A lot of my units, I've figured at about 50%, and I'm just under 400 units currently, are, even though they're not room rentals to me, the tenants are viewing them as room rentals. Mm-hmm. And so it's 3 or 4 people on one lease for a 3 or 4 bedroom. And so those can pay more. Everyone's like, how do you pay $1,500 for a townhome? How's the family doing? You're like, it's not typically families. It's 3 or 4 single people that are paying, okay, I can pay $400 or $500 a month for that room rental. So that is putting more and more pressure on that market. If you're able to figure out and allow some additional flexibility for the city to allow more of that, because those are the hardest to build.
When you say development flexibility, what does that mean?
The best way to say it is, so you look at the modern zoning and you say only this, this, and this is allowed. And you've got, hey, we've got only this many units that are allowed. And it makes sense in zoning theory. I studied urban and regional planning in college. And theoretically, it makes sense. In practicality, here's what it does, is it really limits builders or a city's ability to solve housing problems. Every other community continues to develop the same way, and they have all the same issues. So as a community, we act surprised, like, how did we end up like everyone else, right? And so, like, one of the big examples that I give, and I'd worked with the developer, so we had just under 2 acres behind Denny's across from Cedar Point, so 400 north and 1100 west. We were looking to do 45 units, 3 bedrooms, 15 3-bedrooms, 15 2-bedrooms, 15 1-bedrooms, and good socioeconomic mix and everything. And all of a sudden we were looking, because I'm always kind of crazy, and looking with investors, like, what are different ways we can do it? And you just get call after call after call. I'm like, is there a different way that we can do this to pitch to an investor within city stuff? And I've tried to pitch numerous different things to try to get through the city that can help bring additional flexibility, and none of them have quite gone. So we'll just use this development example. So out of those 45 units, there's actually 90 bedrooms. So you keep the parking at 1.3. Mm-hmm. So you can use the same square footage, same parking, same acreage, and same really water usage, and the builder, and do 91 bedrooms. I don't envision any builder going, hey, I want to build 91 bedrooms. But it does allow them to go, okay, maybe I want to do, say, 45 1-bedrooms, and then I can do 20, 2-bedrooms, which are that lower end,
right,
are the most versatile. That's what's actually needed.
So when you're talking about development flexibility, you're talking about maybe looking at zoning.
Looking at zoning, I think going and allowing more development agreements from the city side, because what that does is, say developers like, okay, I want to develop in an R1 zone, but I want a little higher density. Right now, to get that, they're like, well, you got to zone R2, and you don't get the parks, you don't get it. Like, everyone's like, we need more parks, and the development isn't happening because there's no financial incentive.
There's been a couple of developments that have used the residential development overlay, the RDO, I think with great success. So anyway, we don't want to devolve necessarily into a zoning conversation, because this is your time to talk about your candidates.
So allowing some of those additional things to where you can have conversations and go, okay, here's what the city needs. If you want this, we'll give you X, Y, Z if you give us A, B, C. And with normal zoning, those are a lot of the conversations that can't take place. And it's just like, yes or no. And then what a lot of times you have is you have the neighborhood around it going, we don't want this. And the city council's like, well, we don't really want it either. Yeah. And I know you're on planning commission, and sometimes you're like, I'm not a huge fan of this either, but really there's nothing we can do, right? So we're doing a lot of development that a lot of us don't want to see, and the community doesn't want to see, but yet we're victim to it because this is what
it's the general plan. as far as density, and then you've got the zoning already sort of set. So yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
So that's that.
Anything else that you need the city needs to improve? We kind of got off on a tangent there. When you the opportunity.
That's I think one of the big things that they've struggled with, and I've yet to figure out why that is I think they really struggle to communicate with the citizenry. And I think the city's acknowledged that, because in the last budget they've approved hiring a PR person, which may scare people, but at the same time it's acknowledgement going, we're either not communicating or we're not communicating well enough, and what we're trying to do isn't just like, it's not coming across to the citizenry. So right. I will give the city credit for acknowledging that and trying to correct that. But I think that's one thing, because so many things that come about, the city, even if they're doing it right, can't quite message it correctly.
Yeah, I know.
And so they're under attack, and you're like, no, that isn't even. We didn't even say that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does the city do well?
I think right now, on the council, you have a great deal of excellent listeners. I can go sit down with every single one of them, whether they want to hear what I want to hear or not, and they're willing to listen. And I've had a different relationship with all of them because I've worked with them for years. And so probably more so than most, and I readily admit this to people that have had different experiences, is we can have brutally honest conversations and just put it all out there and be like, here's what I think, and I think you guys are just being absolutely dumb on this. And other times they can be like, no, Derek, you're the moron. and I'm like, just tell me why. And sometimes I'm like, okay, fair point, I was a moron that time, right? And that's one thing I've always appreciated. Whether we end up agreeing on the same side or not, like, the council in and of itself has done an excellent job in being willing to listen. At least in me, and I'm a guy with crazy ideas, and we're always looking for stuff, and they're always willing to at least give me the time to respond to an email. They'll take my phone calls, and and sometimes they'll reach out to me like, hey, what do you think about this? How would this impact you? And I've always appreciated that.
That's great. So
let's say you're stuck in an elevator with some voters. You've got 30 seconds to tell them why you should be on the council. What do you tell
them? We know what we're currently doing isn't working. We know what it leads to. So even if you don't vote for me, we know that we have to do something different. Why you vote for me is I have a track record of just doing stuff different. The way I run my business is different than any other property manager. When I get involved in organizations, we just do things completely different. And that's what's different. That's what you do.
Anything else that you want voters to know about you, about your candidacy, about your goals?
I think that's pretty much it. I'm pretty simple. I don't need to speak a whole lot, and it's just acknowledging and understanding that we can do a little bit better. And it may be time for someone that can just tweak things just a little bit and to get us where we need to go.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for coming in, Derek.
Thanks again for having us.
Yeah.
Or me. I'm not that.
Well, we are going to have all of you, but just you today. So thank you. We appreciate your insights and your ideas, and thank you for coming on to Color Country Politics. I am Jenny Hendricks, along with my co-host.
I'm Jesse Harris.
And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Color Country Politics, a production in cooperation with Utah Politico Hub and graciously sponsored by Century 21 Prestige Realty at 121 North Main Street, Cedar City. Special thanks to Amoeba Crew for use of their song Background Indie Rock, licensed under Creative Commons. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever fine podcasts are found. Also, check out our YouTube channel where we post video of our interviews. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and our website at www.colorcountrypolitics.com.